hear that? There we go. I was just worried that I couldn't share my screen. I don't know. The options just disappeared. I'm here, and now you can see me. That's what I wanted to do, actually. Thanks so much, Woody. Appreciate that. And, we're keeping going. It's August, so things are a little bit slower, but I think that the market will move a little bit quicker again in September. Actually moved quite well in August, I think, considering that August is quite a slow month, but that could be because of fundamentals. It could be because of news events, tweets, even from the US president, for instance, trade wars and Brexit. So maybe that's a reason. Things are a bit slower now, but it's really close to September. And so I think that soon in September, things will pick up again, a little bit steam from like 4-hour perspective and the size of the movement. Let's share the screen here. First of all, hang on. Sorry for this delay, but somehow there was a software problem. And now looking around for the options. There we go. All right. So if I remember correctly, last week we were looking at Bitcoin as well. We'll take a look at that, but just later. Let's first start with the euro dollar. Last week, the euro dollar made a big upside, then a big retracement. Yesterday, there was a bullish candle. So I think that this could be a bounce. There are double bottom basically at the 78.6 fib, because if we put a fib from here to here, there is basically a reaction to that fib, that deep fib. And I was thinking that the 61.8 fib could be the D level. It turns out that it went a little bit deeper. The momentum was a little bit stronger, and price pushed further than that. But ultimately, after price bounced at the 78.6 fib, then at the 21 EMA, then it made another bounce, a second one, which created the double bottom at this deep fib, and now price is moving higher. Now, for the moment, it is looking like momentum. On the hourly chart, we see 3 candles in a row bullish. We see a flag like this. So typically, we would expect a follow-through to the upside. But with FOMC so close, that hasn't happened yet. And that's maybe not so surprising, because the market is anticipating news, is waiting some news at least, right, from the central bank in the US. And everyone's cautious and trying to see what the news is first before. So that's why the market's going maybe sideways like this. Whatever the news is, if for the dollar, then this could be a retracement for more downside. But if it is that, then I still think that the 88.6 fib will be a bouncing spot at a 110.50, by the way. So I don't think that downside has much space. If it's not so good for the dollar, then the euro dollar could move up, and there could be a counter trend reversal basically here. Why? Because the 21 EMA is still below the 144 EMA. So that is a counter trend trade. But ironically, it has more space to the upside, I think, than downside, because the 88.6 fib is right around the corner. Whereas if I add my wave analysis to this, I still think it's probably likely to be an A, B, C. And if this is a blue C, that means it can go up to test 112.50 and maybe even break the top and go up to 113 and 114. So from that perspective, I think the counter trend trade has more potential. But a lot will depend on the news event. If there is a break followed by a flag and the 21 EMA goes up like that, then that could be already with the trend setup as it bounces, for instance. So that could be one way of waiting for with the trend setup. If it breaks through the 88.6 fib, then the previous bottom is still a support level to be careful of. It could be not an ABC zigzag, but an ABC flat correction. And then the previous bottom is still a formidable support level. So that's something still not to underestimate. What I'll be keeping an eye on is basically if price is able to break below 110.25 with a clear daily candle. So if today's daily candle is clearly bearish and as a close below that bottom, preferably also a close below the round level of 110, then my bullish ABC is out of the window. That's off the table. That's invalidated. And price is communicating to me that a downtrend is there. And then price could go to 109, 108, 107.50. So why is today's daily candle important? Well, first of all, because of that. But second of all, is because of the event. the FOMC event. So whoever controls today's daily candle, that's important. Every daily candle has a lot of value, has a lot of information, provides insight. But today's daily candle is even more important because of the fact that it's FOMC day. So there's a lot of participation. And therefore, because there's so much volume in it, it even has more value, more meaning. So whatever today's daily candle is, whether it's bearish like this or a strong bullish candle, that is probably going to have some, usually has some significance for the short term. That means this week, maybe even next week, and the rest of August. So if today's daily candle is bearish like that, then the market is confirming to me that I should be bearish. I'll be looking for a pullback on hourly or 4-hour chart and for a continuation lower. If, however, there is a bullish candle like that, for instance, then that looks like indeed confirming what I thought seemed most likely at an ABC. When price was moving up, I already was thinking that this is probably going to be an ABC, so I expected a turn and then a bounce. There were huge wicks here, and then a break, and we had that. Now we have a bullish candle. I don't think it's enough to confirm a bounce as yet. So, but if we have a daily candle like that, then I think it should be enough to confirm that ABC. But if today's daily candle, as I already said, like is bearish like that, well, then that's an invalidation. And the market is then, I would be foolish to think, I'm not going to stick to my bullish analysis if the market is communicating that. That said, all of these bearish breakouts have been quite choppy and didn't go too far. So that is a fact, and that is something that I want to be careful of. So any bearish breakout, or bullish breakout for that matter, has been a very, very choppy euro dollar on the daily chart. So any breakout still remains very vulnerable to a turnaround, basically. Okay, but that's just, when looking at this chart, that you cannot conclude anything else. The angle is slightly, tilting to the downside, yes, but so many ups and downs and so many impulsive moves on both directions. So very rangy on the daily. Now, pounds, as you might have figured, very vulnerable to Brexit news in September. Now, maybe not yet. I think that the parliament is still in summer recession, or not. I don't know if that's the right word, but recess. Sorry, maybe that's the correct word. Anyhow, they're having a break. And so that might not happen right away. Technically, I think it is making kind of a wave 4. It looks like a bear flag. So it is probably a bear flag unless it breaks above 122.50, 123. That could change perspectives. Otherwise, this is looking like a big bear flag. That's not so strange because price hit that magical 120 level, and that is a logical spot for the market to take a breather and take a deep breath and kind of pick up its pace again. Like, it cannot move forever like that fast. It was a huge downtrend, huge momentum, and it just needs to recover from that move. And if it is a downtrend continuation, which I think it will, then it's likely to happen after some decent kind of correction. So that's what happened multiple times in this downtrend. Logically, that's what happens. Here is good momentum, right? But there were also good corrections here, like this, right? And now we're having one. This is one of the biggest ones last months so far, and I wouldn't be surprised if that extends further. If that is going to take, expand to 122.50, hit the 144 EMA, that would reset the trend, and that was needed because this trend was really, really huge. That's partly because of the Brexit fears of a no deal, right? A no deal Brexit, probably pushing this pound dollar further. Seems logical to me, at least. Whatever it did fall, whatever the reason is. We can see that on the chart. And therefore, I think that the downtrend continuation is likely at this moment. From a technical point of view, I still think so. And the 143 EMA bounce could reset that trend, and that therefore could be enough retracement to continue lower. Now, the first target is actually 120 again, because price bounced at 120, I don't know, 15 or so, I think it was. The low is here at 14 indeed. So something around there, 110, 120.10, 120.15, right? So it could still hit 120 and bounce again at that level. It is such a strong level that I wouldn't be surprised about that necessarily. But if it does break below 120 and maybe also break below 119.75, then I think it has space to 119, 118, 117.50. We're really a little bit on unknown territory because as far as we can see, and I didn't look back like the last century. I just look back on this chart and I'm seeing 22 years of price action. It has never gone that low in 22 years. Now, I don't know how it looked like, as I said, in the 80s, but or beginning 90s, who knows? But on this chart, that's a long time, right? 22 years. So we're from that point of view going into really, really big price movements here, right? And 120 is very psychological level as well. Now, 115, of course, would be the next psychological level. And yeah, that's important too. Then 110, all of these round levels, of course, indicating previous support, psychological support, etc. Ali is asking for pound dollar, is there a chance to test the downtrend trend line near 123.50? Let's see, 1 second. There we go. Or maybe 4 hours. Sorry, this is a daily chart. But it's probably the same, actually. But my line is coming in at 122.90-ish. But I maybe Ali means this, but that's the same angle, actually. Maybe he means this trend line. Like that. That has a little bit shallower angle, and that line comes in at a little bit higher at 123.50 indeed. I think that is possible. Yes, I wouldn't rule it out. Previous bottoms, it is possible. I think it's on the deeper side, deeper than I would necessarily expect. It would also push through the 144 EMA quite substantially, 123.50. I'm more counting on anywhere between 122 and 123, but I wouldn't rule out an extension to 123.50 and that previous bottom. But if it goes, if it goes much more than that, then it might still be a downtrend. Don't get me wrong, but it's way larger than I expect. It would really depend on how price is moving up as well, in what time frame, and how fast does it drag the 21 EMA over the 144? Because that's what would be happening then in that case if it moves up, if price moves up that much. I don't know. That's difficult to, then kind of looking quite far ahead. It's a little bit difficult to anticipate that. I would have to reanalyze it if it goes up above 123.50. But anywhere around 122, 123 is ideal. If it does extend to 123.50, probably still bearish, I think. And a good resistance spot still. More than that, as I said, that's already getting a bit more difficult indeed. All right, so that's on my watch list. Now, I didn't trade this breakout here, and it did break below the 20 EMA and the weekly pivot point, and I was waiting for more confirmation because of this channel, and I don't think it broke through local support, and there was luckily in the sense that there was a pin bar and then a move up. And sometimes it's good to keep an eye on the hourly chart because sometimes there's momentum, but if there's no continuation of that breakout, often you'll see a close in reverse and you'll see momentum equally or stronger even in the opposite direction on the lower time frame. If you have a good breakout, typically you see momentum followed by some flag on lower time frame and then a continuation. Here there was no flag at all. And so that was one way could have been avoided to trade this bearish breakout, because obviously it does look like a break, but it was just in part of an extension. It was a expansion or extension of the correction. Now, I don't want to hold us up. I talked, in length about the euro dollar, pound dollar, because to me, looks like interesting. Still a lot of things to discuss, specifically with the FOMC, and I think very interesting. Dollar yen is not interesting to me. I'll be very quick about that. I think that it is right at key 105 support. Previous bottom on the daily and weekly chart is at 104.60. I just don't, it is in a downtrend. I just don't like trading it to the downside because it's right at that key level. And it might make, from my point of view, might make a dip like this, but this could just be an ABC. There's momentum here. There's strong support just below it. 105, 104.60, as I said. To me, no sense to trade it to the downside with the trend because of that. Reversal, I don't see any confirmations either yet. It would have to break above 144 flag and then bounce before I'm interested in trading it. So let's move on. Pound yen is different. Here too, like with the pound dollar, bear flag, very clear, I think. Massive downtrend, massive momentum to the downside. And maybe too much of a downtrend, I don't know. But, trends can be strong. Let me say it this way. Look at that. It is really literally fallen in, how much is it? June, July, August, 3.5 months. It has fallen from 146 to 130 or 129. No, even further. Sorry. Now it's at 129. Excuse me. All the way down to 127. That's a big move. And really, price staying below the 144 EMA. And it hit the 144 EMA twice. Otherwise, it just was riding along that 21 EMA most of the time. And from that point of view, let's see, it I think could continue lower. It is, from my point of view, I don't see any divergence as yet that would scare me necessarily. And I think a continuation for lower low is possible. And also, if you take into account the most recent momentum and the slow, choppy correction, I think a break below the weekly pivot point and the 21 EMA still looks good for a breakout to me. So from my point of view, pound yen on the list. Now, that was, I guess, probably driven by pound. With the dollar yen, I don't know which side is going to break. So I don't know which one is going to be more interesting, pound dollar or pound yen. That probably depends a little bit on the pound dollar yen too. So that remains open. But that is set aside, I think pound yen just as interesting, let's say, as the pound dollar for the moment. It looks corrective. Unless it really breaks above that like this, then of course I'll be careful again. Euro yen didn't get the zigzag, is making a descending wedge. And there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bounces and is making this pattern, which typically breaks south. And it was a potential break. Skip that because I wanted to see a clear push below this 117 level support. And that didn't happen. It did break the 21 EMA, but not the support. And we got another retracement, just like here. 2 retracements. But there seems to be, and I say it cautiously, a bounce at the weekly pivot point. If that is another lower high, that would only confirm the descending wedge pattern. And if it does break down next time below the support, that could also be on my watch list and looks interesting. So that could also be potential breakout there on the euro yen. So for the moment, euro yen, pound dollar, the most interesting. Euro dollar, maybe, but only with clear direction from the daily chart at the moment. Euro pound to me looks like it is, yeah, it looks like a double bottom at a 50 fib plus minus. And as you can see, and 21 is still above the 144. So with the long-term moving average all the way down here, so if it re-breaks, there could be an uptrend continuation, in my view. Now, I'm not a big fan of trading the euro pound, but yes, another reason why, if this does take place, if this breakout does happen, why maybe the pound shorts would be working better than the euro shorts. But let's see. That's something to take into account, and why pound yen might be better than euro yen. So that's one factor to consider. I wouldn't trade the euro pound, or I'm not a big fan of trading it, but it is useful information for that purpose. All right, not a big fan of dollar Swiss. I will add a new template quickly, but Yeah, I just don't see a very good trend at this moment. Neither with the dollar CAD. Really not a big fan of the CAD at the moment, and probably never was, but certainly not now. It is, to me, extremely choppy in my view. So no, New Zealand dollar, I think, is looking now at this moment still remains still slightly bullish, although it's in a downtrend. It certainly is in a downtrend, but this is very choppy and corrective price action. So yeah, if it breaks above the 20 EMA, it looks more like a reversal or some retracement, maybe better said. If it breaks above the 20 EMA, fails, and then re-breaks below the 21 EMA, then a downtrend continuation could take place. This moment, it's quite, it's, yes, falling wedge. Yeah, some kind of correction. This downside is too corrective, indeed. Agree. So I think logical target could be 65 and 143 May, and that could be also a serious bouncing spot for a move down again. AUSD also too slow. The second break didn't go anywhere. Not only that, but the pullback and then there was just went sideways. Too lengthy. It should have been, if there was a pullback, it should have been fast and quick. Personally, I traded this pullback, but got out with a trail because I didn't want to give it too much time. I saw the break here and it was at a discount, but I also knew that it was not, in a way, not good that the price had moved up that much. So I wanted to give it a try to take a short here and hope that it would still bounce one more time and continue lower. But it didn't, and I didn't want to wait too long for that. So it was a first, second break, but eventually that downtrend didn't continue. So for the moment, it looks like this up correction, and I expect one more up, just like the New Zealand dollar for the moment. Now, Euro odd double bottom, waiting for a break above weekly 21 EMA, but that would not be enough for me. The correction was quite deep. What I would be looking for in this case is a break pullback continuation. The breakout above the weekly pivot point and the 21 EMA would not be enough for me. It's the correction is too deep and too strong. And although it looks like an ABC, and we did have a bounce at the 144 EMA, and a break here could be enough, I would rather be a little bit more cautious, and I would rather wait for break pullback continuation on the euro. Otherwise, if it does do that, then it would be fine, and I would have nothing against trading it to the downside. To the upside. If it does move to the downside, I just wanted to say, then there could be a reversal in the trend. Euro New Zealand, as Vladislav asked for, is something that to me looked interesting because of the break, but it's more importantly, it matched all my strategy rules. From a discretionary point of view, I think that I'm not sure. It's because of it's a little bit slow in the break, maybe, but it hit, it's, how do I say it? It matched all of my strategy rules. So personally, therefore, didn't avoid it and traded it. And the good thing is it's above the weekly pivot point. So that's good. It's just that, and it's the second break. That's good too. It's just that the break is going a little bit slow. So, but every setup has, of course, every trade idea has, let's say, its odds and its probability. Nothing is guaranteed. The good thing about it is that it's an ABC. And that's good. Now, the 21 EMA was just slightly up. So I used a pretty tight stop loss rather than a looser one. That is according to the rules. But, from a discretionary point of view, maybe the looser one would have been a bit better. But rules are rules, and I stick to that for the moment. For this one, at least, for the stop loss. And, the target is, from my point of view, way, way far. So, talking about these tops and the break of these tops. And that's one of the positive sides about the potential Euro New Zealand upside. If it is basically in momentum and this is correction, then there could be a good follow through. If that's happening, then there's also stronger and better reward to risk ratio. So let's see if that happens. Pound odd, I think, well, There's a doji. I'm keeping an eye on this hourly chart, and it could be a bouncing spot within this uptrend channel. So 4-hour candles don't look that great, though. Not so sure about it. 4 hour candles in a row down, that doesn't look that great. So maybe a bounce, but I'm not sure how much of a bounce it could be. It is pretty choppy and corrective, maybe back to the head and shoulders level. I'm not sure. If there's a strong bullish candle here, that might be worth thinking about a bounce trade. But it's really, really tough considering the 4-hour chart and the momentum here to the downside. Although that doesn't mean everything. Look, we've had 3 candles in a row here too. That's a tough one. I don't know. The whole environment is quite choppy. So not an easy one. It could be a bouncing spot, though. Pound New Zealand made it a little bit higher. It came close to 190. 188.90 it hit. No, 188. Oh, almost. But that also, it looks more like a correction here from the pound point of view. But that's maybe more pound related. CAD yen looks very choppy at this moment. And I'm seeing that all over the CAD spots. So that does not look that good. New Zealand yen is something different, though, and is potentially making a breakout soon. Next push could be a third attempt to break. Moving average is aligned. That looks okay. More interesting than the CAD to me, personally. Bitcoin had a bearish week last week, and that is candle number 7. So I think there's going to be more retracement, and it looks like it's happening right now. Flag, not able to break above the 20 EMA. So it looks like either a triangle, A, B, C, D, or it's still part of A, B, C, and up for D still later on. Or this is A, B, C, and it goes down to the long-term moving average, 61.8 fib, maybe 7.5K round level. Before maybe there's support, and well, maybe even deeper. I don't know. Sometimes Bitcoin really likes to make deep retracements. Look at this. Before we finally got a rally, and now it's running out of steam. So, I think there's going to be a correction and retracement. I explained that already based on time patterns, and I think that seems to be taking place right now. Now the question is how deep and how much of a retracement. Now, usually speaking, after momentum to the upside that much, it doesn't retrace that deep. 50 fib, 61 would be it. And the 21 EMA is a bouncing spot and has a good steep angle. But with this Bitcoin, I don't know. It could also go deeper. If it breaks through 61, maybe it'll go to these deep fibs. But I do think that those levels then would act as support. Now, Ethereum, much deeper corrections. And I didn't like this way massive down push here. That does not look good. And I don't like the perspective of technically speaking. This is very, very strong. All the way from, I think, 1,600 down to 75. So personally, don't have much hope for the long term with Ethereum. There was a rally, but looks more like a bounce rally. Now back. I'm not saying it can never recover. I'm not saying it can never go up again. Certainly so. It's just that I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm not interested in this from a long-term perspective or from a swing trade perspective. I think Bitcoin could be interesting if there's a bounce here for a push higher and a swing up to retest the tops. I wouldn't think that that's too strange. With Ethereum, I don't know what to think. It could be double bottom, maybe a lower low. If it bounces here, it might move up. I think that the upside will be very limited and capped. That's my view. Same, I don't know, for Ripple. If I look at the chart, at least, I don't know what's going behind the scenes with these currencies, of course. So from a fundamental point of view, maybe one is shaping up to very strong. I don't know that. But from a technical point of view, I don't like the charts of Ripple and Ethereum. That's very simple. Dow Jones is breaking to the upside here. We're seeing some resistance at this spot, but maybe a breakout is coming soon. Last depends probably on FOMC. Finally, gold for Ali's, or no, yes, for Ali indeed. I do think that gold is looking like an ABCDE or ABC12 or ABC for deeper. So either a bounce at the 144 EMA, a bounce here, a breakout here, or waiting for the pullback and continuation. All of that makes sense. I do think that this is just a pause within the uptrend for the moment. That seems the most likely to me. And 1480 could be a very solid level to think about, indeed. But it doesn't have to go necessarily that deep. It could be 1488. Could be a bouncing spot. It might not even go that deep, because if it's a triangle and this is already A, B, C finished, up for D, down for E. So let's see. If it breaks above the weekly pivot point and 21 EMA, then I don't think it's going to get down to 1480, 1485 anymore. Then the max it probably can do is break and pull back. So then probably about 1508 is probably going to be the bouncing spot again. Break, pullback, right? If it stays below the weekly pivot point, then yes, there's a chance it can fall into that 1480, 1485 zone. And I wouldn't expect more downside than 1467. So because that's the 50 fib at 1468-ish. So that's my view. TP 1570 makes sense. It's the minus 272 target. Agree. Yes. Now, if it moves down and then bounces here like that, then it's likely not to go to this zone anymore, in my view. Because then it's probably going to be some ABC finished, I think. Or ABCDE. ABCDE. So if there is a break here, probably not going to go that deep, I think. It still could, but probably not. If it does bounce, but bounces here again, then it will probably not go to this 50 fib anymore. Depends also how it breaks, but probably not. So interesting spot. Let's see if it breaks above the 20 EMA or below this support trend line. And otherwise, it is in a full-fledged uptrend on this higher time frames. Monthly chart, clearly so. Weekly too. So I think uptrend continuation is likely. Daily, even if there's now a bounce, then there's going to be a higher high. I would expect a bull flag and a continuation, basically. And I expect this to continue. Personally, I think that this is a breakout. So eventually there will be a daily bull flag and continuation. Then there will be a weekly bull flag and continuation. So eventually there will be a weekly retracement and higher move. With such a trend, typically that's the case. You get correction, continuation, and then correction and continuation. And then on a higher time frame, you have the same. If this is as bullish as I expect, then that's the case. Now, it could also still be an ABC pattern. So I don't want to be naive. And I want to take a look at where the targets are for that. If this is not a 1, 2, 3, but an ABC, key level to keep an eye on is 1578. That's the minus 61.8 target. If it breaks above that, it's likely and more likely to become a wave 3 rather than a wave C. I think it is a wave 3, but it would confirm that. If there's a very strong bounce at the 61.8 target, then I would change perspectives a lot, because then it's more looking like an ABC zigzag. All right. All right, folks. That's about it, I guess. Thanks for your comments. I hope this helps. And I will not be back next week, actually, with a live, with the video or the webinar, because I am taking some time off. I will be back a little bit later than usual. I really didn't even have any holiday last 5 years, because when I was traveling, I was still trading and doing analysis as well, and our own website. So I was traveling, but I really never took a break, a real 100% break. I did take a few hours off, let's say, when traveling, but that's not much. So yeah, I am taking a break now after 5 years. Not too far, actually, very close to Austria, very close here to Prague, because we have a baby, so no chance to travel too much. No, it doesn't make sense. So I'll be gone 2 weeks, but I'll be back on Monday the 9th with a video here for FXDD. And I think that Thursday of that week with another webinar. All right. And then I will, of course, will send as usual videos, webinars, etc. All is as usual with Nanit there. So wish you all good trading, great rest of the month, and see you in September. Cheers. Bye-bye.